quickly, I'll just, it's fairly solid special teams play in the game. We didn't really make any plays though that changed the game. So definitely some missed opportunities where we would like to, do a better job of generating more explosive plays, especially in the return game. Kickoff return wise, we had some bigger return lanes. I think the returners did a very good job. We just did not finish our blocks up front. There always seemed to be one block that we, seemed to be missing that, missed an opportunity there. Kickoff wise, obviously Badgley coming back, had a really good game. Field goal wise, good rhythm and timing and operation, converted all of his scoring opportunities. A little bit of inconsistency, as far as kickoff goes. Certainly, we don't want to ever have a penalty on special teams, especially where we're kicking the ball short of the landing zone. So certainly something that we're going to look to clean up. Obviously, we have the ability to explore options with both Rigo and Badgley as a kickoff guy. I think Badgley did a good job in the new model, on majority of his reps, and will continue to improve some of that consistency and things as we move forward with it. Ended up being a little bit of a wash in the kickoff return game. Both of us ended up with the average starting field position at the 32-yard line. I think there's some things we can certainly clean up with the consistency with the coverage and kick working together that we'll certainly continue to work through. As a whole and throughout the NFL, it's still a really good play. The dynamic kickoff, 80% of all kicks are being returned. We've gotten a lot of obviously action work with it. We have the most kickoff reps of any team in the NFL. So we're certainly benefiting from getting all that action and work as we continue to improve through some of those things. Punt wise, I thought it was a really solid day for Rigo. We ended up having one punt. That was kind of the end of the half. I think they probably told their returner to not catch the ball since it was towards the end of the half. There's about 30 seconds left to go in the half, and they didn't want to end up having a muff, backed up. And the ball hit at the 11, took kind of an unfortunate bounce and went for a touchback. Other than that, it's another really good game with a really, positive, net punt. We want our net punt to be 45 yards or better because that would end up, having us as be the number one punt team in the NFL. We're right there again for another week. He's done a really solid job. Punt return wise, we only had one rep where the punt return team was on the field. So we've had some limited opportunities this year, but we still got to get Gould going. We had a really good opportunity with him punting out of the back of the end zone to be able to generate some return yards. We had a really not smart penalty, which is something we can't do. We got to be more disciplined and clean some of that up. But as a whole, there were some solid things there other than those two penalties we had on punt return and kickoff.
Thanks so much, Mace. Kevin, you want to ask your question?
Yeah, Brian, you guys, ran some fakes when you were in college, and it just seems like league wide. This may be more of a big picture question. League wide, there just aren't as many fakes in the NFL. Why do you feel that way?
Yeah, good question. In college, I would define the special teams as a little bit as the wild, wild west. So you kind of can do whatever you want. You can do whatever formation you want, motion you want, shift you want. So there's a lot of wild things you can get into to try to trick people and be able to do some of that stuff. In the NFL, there's a lot more structure and rule where they don't want it to be crazy and be the wild, wild west. They want it to be more traditional, traditional punt formations, traditional rules. There's a lot more limitations on some of those things that you can do. So then it becomes a little bit of a cost benefit analysis. If you're willing to go for it, are you going to want to go for it with the offense? How's your offense doing versus doing it with your punt team and then finding a weakness in your opponent? What is the thing that you can then be able to exploit on your opponent? Different thing between college and the NFL too is, every single week when we line up, it's the best versus the best. The best players in the world are matched up against each other. Very good coaching on both sides. So obviously finding some of those weakness or having the aggressiveness to just roll the dice becomes a little bit less probably prevalent in the NFL than it is in college.
James, go ahead.
For Michael, obviously he's kicked in the NFL before, but just the reaction, did you have a moment with him like, hey, you're back in it and you had a pretty good day? I'm sure he loves the game and was excited to get back out there.
Yeah, I mean, he had a great, great first game back. I think it's a little bit easier that we found, obviously somebody who has veteran experience, who's been in this situation before where he has filled in for, an injured kicker come in midseason. He's done that in more than one situation. He's on his now third stint with the Colts. So it's a very easy transition where he knows people in the building, both players, he knows a lot of people in the sports staff. He's worked with Luke and Rigo before, so that makes it a lot easier transition, bringing somebody new in to have somebody that has some of that cohesion, both with some of the players that have been on the team and the exact specialists that he's working with. So the guys love having him around. He has a positive attitude. He works really hard. He's just kind of a great guy. He's a great teammate. So it's really easy to kind of enjoy his success and kind of easy to have that, initial transition going into the first game, making all of our kicks.
And then one last one. I feel like we talked about Rigo a lot. We talked about Michael, obviously, and Spencer when he was Luke. I mean, he matters, and I feel like if you're not talking about the long snapper, it's probably a good thing. But how good is he at his job, and how much does he make things easier for everyone else? And he does it. It seems like year in and year out.
Yeah, so he's been one of the top paid long snappers, in the NFL for a reason. I think he's a very unique um, long snapper that I think a lot of other people have tried to kind of like emulate or copy in some way because he was a former linebacker in the NFL. He was on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He first came to the Colts as a linebacker, so he's somebody that, has the ability or has experience of, being a Mike linebacker, making calls, understanding how to, kind of be a leader more so than maybe your typical specialist would be. So he can help out if things aren't going the right way. He can kind of stop things. He's not going to snap the ball if he knows something's not going right. He can help make protection calls. He's an athlete that, is at the highest level compared to most other long snappers, being that he, was a position player in the NFL that made a transition to being a long snapper. So he's a very unique guy for a specialist, being that, he's a defensive football player at heart who's a really good athlete, really strong, has the ability to cover and do a lot of things that maybe some other specialists don't have on and off the field.